My name is Dean Gurr, and my wife and I, her name is Monique, we own and operate Creative Imaging Center here in Morville. And we it's like Ansel Adams that I admire because not only was he a great artist, but he was technical at what he does.
Yeah.
In the industry, there's a couple of people like Larry Peters and Ralph Romagera, photography, that have been very influential in the senior markets in their own areas. I was introduced to a man named Brian DeMint at a SPA convention, which is Senior Portrait Artists organization, and he was very inspiring to the fact that he was very minimalistic. I mean, very minimalistic in how he lit and captured his subjects locally, and out at Butte College. Michael Agliolo is a fantastic photographer, imager, also a great instructor. I admire him because even though he may not consider himself still a photographer, more of an imager or a graphic artist, his work is completely derived from what's in his mind, and he just develops some fantastic images just from his own ideas, and creates images, photography, without ever having to pick up a camera. My first grandbaby was born last year, and I have a photograph of him when he was just a week old in his mama's hands, and that's one of my favorite images. Just I think because I like the way I captured it, and but I also, it just means so much to me, my first grandbaby.
Do you enjoy the job, and have you always loved photography?
I have. I don't think I always envisioned myself being a photographer. In high school, it wasn't one of those things where I knew that's what I was going to do. I've always been fascinated by the cameras and photography. When I was about 8 years old, I picked up my parents' little Instamatic cameras, the cassette film type cameras with little flash cubes on the top. And they were patient enough to let me play around with them, take the cassettes out, see how it worked, put the cassettes back in, take some pictures. So I think that's how I got my initial interest in it. When I was 16, my parents bought me my first SLR. It was a Nikon FE, and I took photography classes in my senior year. So that was a lot of fun. I was also heavily involved in my newspaper and yearbook classes, which gave me an outlet and assignments to go out and photograph. So what I would do is I'd take those pictures, take them back into darkroom, develop them, and it was great to have that that back-end experience with the processing of the photographs, because I could see how terribly I exposed my images and how long it took to print some of the photographs because they're so dark and dense, that it kind of helped me be a better photographer, or at least expose better images. So yeah, I've always loved photography, and I think it's what keeps me in the career field that I've chosen.
What equipment do you use? How much has it changed from when you first started off in this field?
I'm primarily a Nikon shooter. As I mentioned, I started off with my first Nikon when I was 16, and so I think it's because once you get invested in a system, you stick with it. Back in the film days, and yeah, I've been on both sides. I've been both digital and film. I shot mostly for most of my portraiture medium format film. So I shot Bronica, which is a square format, a 6x6 centimeter square. There was shot Mamiya, 645, and RBs and RZs. I shot those. Those were 6x7 negatives. Those produced fantastic work, and I shot 35mm Nikon for action and sports and volume photography. That kind of thing.
Some of the personal requirements you think you need to have to be able to handle this job?
As far as being a portrait photographer, you have to like people, number one. I know lots of portrait photographers who aren't necessarily people, you know. Yeah. And if you're an artiste, you can probably get away with that for a little while. But you know, it's really all about connecting with someone, even if it's just for 5 minutes in front of the camera. It's nice to connect and help people feel at ease.
What type of education do you need to have to become a photographer?
Little to none to a lot. It really depends. what area of photography you're going to go into. In portrait photography, my education was all on the job. Going right out of high school, going to work for a studio, I got a lot of experience there. And then that gave me a good opportunity to start young in my own business and go from there. So that's one way to start. As far as education goes, it's an ongoing thing. I'm continually learning. I don't ever foresee stop learning in this industry. It's ever changing. In the digital age, there are so many new things that come available to you, new tools, new software programs, new techniques. I consider myself a student of photography, and I've been at it, more than half my life. So, so it's one of those things where education is paramount, and if I would suggest to anyone who wants to go into business that they study much more than just photography. They also study business, they study marketing, and so forth. Because as a business owner, that's one of the things that the two worlds I live in. If I'm not going to be here in business if I can't make a profit on what I do.
What are some of the physical demands, such as working conditions, that you need to be able to cope with while doing this job?
In my particular line of work, it's active. You're up and down quite a bit. You're not carrying hundreds of pounds of boxes or anything like that, but you do have to. You're lugging things all the time.
Yeah.
Equipment is a part of what we do. I sometimes feel like a pack mule. Bag on this shoulder, a camera strap over this one, and stands in my hands, and I'm going back and forth with that frequently. So there is a lot of equipment to move. You're up and down a lot with your clients.
Computers being able to do so much with photographs now, how do you think the future will look for inspiring photographers?
There are so much that computers do, but again, computers are a tool. There are a lot of things in photography now that are automated that used to be done by hand. Computer algorithms or so forth are taught to. There's even some automatic retouching programs that'll go out there and do some skin softening and remove some redness or maybe some blemishes automatically to a certain degree that you do completely by hand before. So the tools are evolving. So I think there's going to be probably some more automation in what we do, but there's always going to be a need for someone to create the image, to take their vision on the backside of it and in Photoshop or whatever image editing software you're using to put their spin or their vision into the image as well. The tools will change, the tools will evolve, but there will always need to be that artist, that photographer to not only capture but manipulate on the back end as well an image that they see as being their vision. This the economy has been tough over the last few years, and it's industry-wide and it's nationwide. There are photographers and studios that have folded up shop and gone away. There's others that have chosen to start up businesses in this economy, and there's others that have been well established and are really thriving in this economy. So it's really a cross-section of all kinds of different stories in this economy. Personally, we have had to change and adapt to the local economy, and I'm pleased to say, we're still here. We're still hanging on. It's a rough estimate, probably between $48,000 to $58,000 a year.
Are you getting more education or training in the job as technology evolves? If so, what kind of education or training do you take? And you talked about this a little bit briefly.
A little bit, but yeah, education is an ongoing thing, and things do change. It used to be, I think my first medium format camera I operated for 14 years, and it did fine with a repair here or there. But nowadays, you're upgrading camera models about every 3 years. So, yeah, things change a lot faster in the digital age. So, keeping yourself educated is important. There's many ways you can do that. You continue to take classes at community colleges, universities. Myself personally, I like to stay involved in the industry. There's several photographic organizations I belong to. Professional Photographers of America is one of them. There's a senior photographer group I belong to, and I get in front of other professionals in the industry, and I learn a lot from them, both at conference and online is another way to go. There's lots of resources available online for an amateur or professional photographer both. A lot of forums, a lot of online learning. I just take advantage of every venue I can when I can.
Look at this photograph. Every time I do it makes me laugh. How did our eyes get so red? And what the hell is on Joey's head? This is where I grew up. I think the president owner fixed it up. I never knew we ever went without. The second floor is hot for sneaking out. And this is where I went to school. Most of the time had better things to do. Criminal record says I've broken twice. I must have done it half a dozen times. I wonder if it's too late. Should I go back and try to graduate? Life's better now than it was back then. If I was them, I wouldn't let me in. Oh, God, every memory of looking out the back door. I have a photo album spread out on my bedroom floor. It's hard to say it, time to say it. Goodbye, goodbye. Every memory of walking out the front door. I found the photo of a friend that I was looking for. It's hard to say it, time to say it. Goodbye, goodbye. Remember the old arcade? Blew every dollar that we ever made. The cops seen us hanging out. They say somebody went and burned it down. We used to listen to the radio and sing along with every song we know. We said someday we'd find out how it feels to sing to more than just a steering wheel. Kim's the first girl I kissed. I was so nervous that I nearly missed. She's had a couple of kids since then. I haven't seen her since God knows when. Oh, God. Every memory of looking out the back door. I have a photo album spread out on my bedroom floor. It's hard to say it, time to say it. Goodbye, goodbye. Every memory of walking out the front door. I found the photo of a friend that I was looking for. It's hard to say it, time to say it. Goodbye, goodbye. I miss that town. I miss the faces. You can't erase. You can't replace it. I miss it now. I can't believe it. So hard to stay. Too hard to leave it. If I could relive those days, I know the one thing that would never change.